Back to some, other fights we missed, in UFC Vancouver, big fight with like Gaethje win over Cowboy. So I feel like we should, delve in really deep into the lightweight division right now. Basing off, what the title picture is right
Well,
now
I
and
mean,
whatnot.
there's so many things going on too. Just even the Bisping stuff reminds me of GSP, and we get that going on with the lightweight division. And first and foremost, so all right, obviously, Gaethje pulls out the win over Cowboy. Cowboy just takes it in stride like usual. Dominant win for Gaethje. But so it's kind of like, I don't know, a month ago, 3 weeks ago, we really thought we had pretty set in stone what's next for a couple different fighters, and like everything happens in the fight world, things change overnight.
Oh man,
So we went from having, oh, Habib Ferguson is a lock. This is definitely this is it. This is no other way. It can be anything else. We don't even know if that fight's going to happen now.
it's so crazy that to think that fight is not next.
You know what? It's beyond crazy.
But because
It's
you're getting all
ridiculous.
these parties coming in, that it's involved with the lightweight division. I'm not even talking about the fighters that are involved. You
Sure,
got
representatives,
managers, family,
right?
all this and whatnot, and it's just too many monkey wrenches thrown in. I thought Connor was one of the biggest monkey wrenches. Then you're getting all these managers saying,
Well,
and
now with
now
Connor, you got him
GSP and
facing assault charges now. So it's like, I mean, is he
oh
even going to
man,
be
we
able to fight?
man, there's so much to talk about right there too. Is now we were thinking after that Gaethje win. I want to go back to that real quick. Is
Because he was the first one to throw some shit out there to Connor when he won.
He said they were hyping it up like, hey, if you get this win, you're gonna get that Connor fight because it was with either Cowboy or Cowboy and Connor. Cowboy and Gaethje were pretty
Right.
much promised that fight, as a return for Connor like a while back. That
Yeah, I
fell,
mean,
both of those
that
fell
ki-
through.
they just tipped us with the Connor Cowboy fight too because they were both into it. Oh, we'll toast some
Yeah.
proper 12 afterwards. I was looking forward to that fight.
And then there was
You
there
know,
was one where there was also with Gaethje that was close to getting booked, but then Connor got injured. I forgot what timeline that was, but it was not too long ago. And then he gets asked about Connor, and he's like, that guy's retired. I want to fight for the belt now, and he rightfully
yeah, which we were kind of
deserves.
talking about before. I think that was a shot fired a little bit just to stir up some shit.
Yeah, but then he did go on to like the ESPN desk and was like, well, I know I said that, but of course if they offer me the fight, I'll take it. But he
Right.
was kind of being like, hey, I'm gonna shoot my shot at the title too, and
Sure.
I feel like after Tony, then he would deserve something like that. But that's gonna be a long time because no fight is booked for the title yet. So it's like, take that Connor fight in the meantime while you
For
wait.
Gaethje.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But now it's crazy now because um, like you said, with Connor with the assault charges, he has facing possible jail time. So
Right,
that
right, right.
just was like, well, damn, is now Gaethje might want to take, someone like that rematch with Dustin, but now Dustin wants Connor,
I know.
and then get
I
this
don't.
now, Habib is now like, all right, we're all thinking he's gonna fight Tony, but then people are saying, oh no, GSP. That was for a little while, like after that fight, they were like, the managers were saying, oh, GSP's next, not Tony. Then Dana's saying, Tony's next, of course. But then he was saying, if Tony doesn't want it, then Connor. And then now he's saying, Tony's first. But if Habib can get through Tony, then we'll bring in GSP. So that's what I think is going to happen. That's what I've called a while. I don't know if we had it recorded on a podcast, but I said that's how you need to go about it. Like, have Tim fight Tony. If he gets through Tony, then bring a GSP. But like throwing him in now is just going to be like, just get Tony in there first, please. Like, that's the fight.
Dude, the next lightweight title fight has to go through Ferguson. It has
Absolutely.
to.
Well,
If
this
it's
is
anything other than Ferguson, to me, it's not a title
Well,
fight.
here's the thing with that one. So Tony made an announcement on his social media saying fight news coming soon. And that was about, a couple weeks ago, I think.
Right.
Now, he did the same thing with Pettis. I don't know how long after when he announced the Pettis one. Like, he was like, a fight news coming, then I don't know how much later. And then he said, it's with Pettis. So I don't know what the timeline will be from when he announced that a couple weeks ago till now. But one can assume, hey, it's Habib. And he's saying in all the interviews for a long time now, it's the title shot or bust, But I'm thinking the only wild card to throw in there that would get Tony interested in a different fight than the title. And he said, he'll accept. He said this in the past, but that was before like he's gone through another two people pretty much, or a couple more people. But Connor, I feel like if it's not Habib, it has to be Connor. But like at the same time, like I don't want that fight. I want, he
I don't
needs the
think
title.
I really don't think he wants that fight, man. I feel like
I don't know, man. I feel like if they weren't gonna give him the title shot or something was dumb and he wasn't able to fight for the title right then and away, then they'd be like, here's Connor.
I
He
could
wants to return because he wants to kill Connor pretty much.
I could definitely see though, especially if they do Habib versus Tony. If Tony wins that fight, I could see him doing a Connor call out. I
Yeah,
could
for
see something
sure,
like that happening.
for sure.
It's
But
just so crazy,
but
man.
it,
It's
but I
like,
don't
this
think
guy
they would.
is still so polarizing in the division.
Yeah.
He's fought twice in the division. He beat Aldo at featherweight, never went back to the featherweight division. He fought, obviously, he beat Alvarez, and it's just like, wow, like this guy is so in the middle of everything. It's like he can't get away. You can't keep him away. It's
crazy.
mind boggling to
But
me.
I mean, like, if I just kind of now looking back to what I just said there, I'm like, I can't even imagine them, hitting Tony up and saying, "Hey, we can't get the Habib fight. Here's Connor." Like, that doesn't make sense to me because I feel like he'd be like, "No, the title."
I feel like at this point, the only way that Ferguson takes another fight besides Habib is if Habib gets hurt.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
And
that's
then
that's.
maybe-
I
maybe
think
they
that was
offer
what I was
him-
kind of alluding to. Is like if
Right.
that was if they offer Connor, I would have to be something like Habib's
Habib's
not ready.
hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, like, come on. It's just that would just hurt. That would just hurt because then we would have to wait even longer. And then let's say Tony gets injured, and then Habib fights, somebody else.
Sure.
So it's just like So anyway, I'm thinking that fight news is ready. We're gonna see.
Do you think that they already have something booked?
What is there something booked for December? Because Connor was saying something about December 14th. Now, I'll have to look
Right.
this
Let's
up.
play. Let's do a quick little thing.
Because I'm trying to wonder if they have. I feel like that was the fight that could have happened. The set date it would be for Tony and Habib is in December. Before the end of the year. I'm just trying to figure out.
Let's do a quick little game. Right. I'm gonna say a fighter, and then you respond with who their next fight is. You ready for this one?
All right, cool.
Cowboy.
Oh man. Well, I'm about to start talking about a little bit of results from UFC 243, but I'm gonna
We
say
don't have to just tell me a name, and we can get into it later.
I'm gonna say Dan Hooker.
Ooh. Okay. All right. Ready? Here's another one for you. Poirier.
I'm one. Damn, that's so hard.
Right?
I can I say between two people?
Sure.
All right, Connor or Gaethje.
Okay. So here's my next one. Connor.
Jesus.
I think this is the most exciting division in the UFC. I really do.
Well, let me get this. You're thinking I'm gonna say lightweight fighter. I'm gonna say it could be a featherweight fighter right there.
You think so?
I think so. There's been a little bit of chirp with Frankie Edgar. I think that could happen. Very well happen.
I don't know, man. I'd love to see I'd love to see a Holloway McGregor rematch.
Yeah, and by the way, December 14th, I'm so stupid. I was like, I think that's the Max Holloway and Volkanovski fight. That's what it is.
Right,
And
right.
then it's Amanda Nunes and Jermaine in the co-main. So yeah,
Sure.
I don't know. Let's see. So I feel like probably Connor's return would be like early 2020, but I don't know, man. Like,
Dude, it's so exciting to try to
Yes.
figure out who the next fight is because it's literally like, talking about Dan Hooker, he lost to beat Al last night. So, I mean, Al's kind of out of the mix a little bit now. So, I mean, there's only so many fights they're going to do.
well, I want to say about that one. If it's not we can touch more on it into tomorrow's episode. But I want to say like another opponent for Dan Hooker. If it's not Cowboy, maybe Felder. He got off a win over Edson Barboza.
Who did? Let me ask you one question. Who did Dan call out last night?
Dustin Poirier.
Right.
I feel that's okay. I don't think he gets that shot. I don't think
he
that,
gets.
that
I think he would. I think he would win that fight, man. I really do.
it's a tough fight, man. That's like a really tough one.
The only thing that bothers me about Dan Hooker, Dan, I love you, big fan, but man, you got to keep your hands up, dude. You're gonna get caught. You're gonna fight some of these other guys that are sharp because Hooker is so sharp. He's so accurate. He reminds me a little bit of McGregor with his striking. Like he's very accurate. Doesn't really waste shots. but he keeps his hands so low. And we've seen what happens. I'm not going to mention names. Luke Rockhold, when you keep your hands low, you get knocked out. And it's just a matter of time before, I mean, not for nothing. He's a huge guy, so he's used to fighting littler guys. They have a really hard time getting in on him. But when you start fighting, imagine him versus like a Holloway or something like that. When you fight like a tall, lanky guy like that, you're going to get caught.
Yeah, man. It's tough about his next matchup, though.
I honestly...
I really don't know about the Dustin Poirier thing. I feel like really Dustin wants... For him, that'd be really
Dustin
going
is
bagesbackwards.
dead set on that McGregor fight.
Yeah.
He really is.
He also said... I feel like if it's either Conor or Gaethje for him.
Sure.
I would have to... We'll talk more into what's next for Al and Dan tomorrow, because I do want to say some stuff about Al.
Right.
But Dan, I feel like I'll mention it again. Felder or Cowboy would be a good one where he's not jumping all the way to number one, even though he's very deserving and he has the skill to back it up. But I feel like there's such a stacked division that the guys that are in the top 5 should be fighting each other pretty much. Al took a big sacrifice right there, big step or decision to do that.
I feel like for the first time in a long time, I'm like really just okay with whatever fights get made in this division.
We'll get. You know what? I'll bring this one up.
Can't forget about Felder either.
I'll bring this one up right now because it just dawned upon me. Kevin Lee made his debut in welterweight. against Rafael dos Anjos, but that didn't go his way. But then he's training with GSP at TriStar, and he seemed to be doing changing his whole self and whatnot. And I'm like super excited to see his turn. But then he accepts the fight with the fight that nobody wanted, no one is asking for, and that's Gregor Gillespie.
Right.
The dominant wrestler, undefeated. And Kevin Lee's been saying for a long time that he favors himself in a Khabib match and whatnot. And Kevin Lee's a great wrestler, so I mean, hey, all the power to him. He wants to prove himself against those type of guys, and now that he's really figuring himself out, I feel at TriStar with GSP, we could very well see a very more mature and intelligent fighter here. But man, going against Gregor Gillespie, and going back to lightweight, I mean, things are all changing around. I mean, he looked better, at welterweight, filled in, in more of himself, and fit and whatnot. But I hope. I mean, this is what I hate. Like, I hate there's these matchups where I'm like, you don't want any of them to lose. They're like you never imagined them to get matched up. You're seeing them go on these little trajectories in their paths, and then you're like, oh no, like you're throwing those guys in there, like, because this is how when they're almost like little stars in their way. Not big stars, but they're all trying to go on their path and whatnot, and then you're like, oh, you throw these two in, and you're disrupting it.
Well, because that someone taking a loss could really kind of impact the next
that's what I'm saying with I'm saying with Al right there. I never imagined the Al and Dan Hooker matchup, especially with their rankings. But I was like, that's a fight I
never liked that fight for Al. I never did.
But it was a fight that I was like, oh, I never imagined that to be booked. But now I'm glad to see it in a sense. But I'm also like, well, damn, these guys are also trying. I mean, they're all going out. But do you think when the lower rank ones, you just have them battle out? But I mean, Dan has been proving himself to fight against the higher rank too. So, but it was just like a big sacrifice for Al from going, getting beaten by number 15th when he was ranked number 6.
Yeah, it was definitely fun to watch last night.
Yeah,
but I mean,
was.
it's that division to me. It's really. I feel like obviously wins and losses make a difference, and when you're jumping people, it's very important. But I feel like even more so with that fight, it's just with that division, it's just like, wow, there's such little wiggle room between the next matchups, and I don't know. I feel like Hooker, he kind of reminds me of like a young Condit, and I feel like I see a lot of kind of similarities between just the fighting styles and things. And I really like Hooker. I think he's going to be someone that's
he's training at City Kickboxing.
Yeah.
With all like Israel. Alex Volkanovski.
That whole team is so scary.
Yeah, they're becoming like almost the new AKA, because I mean Alex Volkanovski. Oh man, and this is all right. We got to hold off because that's a talk for next.
There's a lot of good stuff going on.
But I want to talk about of course Israel's win tomorrow. But did you want to get into more about, with the lightweight division with, the title picture? I mean, GSP, is that a match that you would like to see with Habib?
See, this is the thing, man. I love GSP. I
He's
would love to
cutting
see
he's
him
cutting down
fight, but
weight, by the way.
I know, but I don't want to see like I don't
He's
know. All
ready.
right, as a
He's getting
fan,
ready.
I want to see GSP fight, but as a fan, I also don't want to see GSP get mauled. I don't want to see him get mauled by Habib. I don't know, man. It's one of those things.
So
Like,
you don't favor a GSP in that match,
no,
do
I
you?
do, I do, but at the same token,
Well, anything can happen, right?
this is the thing, right? Until someone proves otherwise, Habib has mauled everyone wrestling, keeping people on the mat, not letting people get position. Poirier literally yelling in his corner, "I can't get this fucking guy off of me." He's dominant like that. So who the guy literally fights bears? So what are you gonna do? So what if it ends up happening that he gets GSP on the ground and just smothers him for 5 rounds? It's I don't know.
I don't know, man. I like I was saying, I think, of course, right now how it's going, you just gotta get Connor out of the way, like as in like push him aside. I mean, don't try to let him in.
If I had a wish, I would wish that the whole build up to the Gregor Habib fight was different, so that with that outcome, we maybe could have got like that immediate rematch or something like that. Because I really, really would have liked to see. Obviously now with the circumstances, it's a little different, but just from a pure fight perspective, because it's kind of the same thing. Like when McGregor fought, when he was supposed to fight Aldo, ended up fighting Mendez on short notice for the interim belt. Oh, striker, wrestler. Oh, what's going to happen? Blah 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 blah. And then we know what happened with that.
Right.
So obviously Habib's on a much higher level than Mendez was, but I really would have liked to see that kind of ran back as far as what they both would have done differently, because I don't think it would have been the same outcome. But
I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
I don't think
how
it's
would
ever
how
gonna
does
happen again.
how would its circumstances be different than?
circumstances, I think the outcome would be different.
But I mean, like, you're saying if circumstances were different back
I'm saying
then,
if there wasn't so much hate in the build up and the riot at the end of it and all that other kind of bullshit that went along with it, I think that they might have booked a rematch.
I get you. I guess I don't know. I mean, I feel like that. Yeah, it's been a year since that fight, exactly a
Sure.
year from today, and
I don't think the UFC
but
is
I f-
ever going to book Habib versus McGregor again.
No, I don't know. I
I
really,
really
yeah,
don't think that ever happens.
yeah, you're right. Because I mean, well, I'm just saying if within that year of Connor was, I feel like the circumstances would be different for that rematch to happen. Is Connor getting back in line after that loss? But he was.
I don't think it ever happens, to be honest
No,
with
no,
you.
no, no. But I'm saying,
I feel like
yeah,
it's just kind of one of those things where I feel like McGregor didn't fight his game plan. He fought a defensive fight rather than an offensive fight, because I feel like it's literally everybody's saying it. His coach is probably telling him like, "Oh, this is what you do. You're gonna get taken down. This is what you do." Like nobody, he even said he's like, "I didn't fight offensively. I fought defensively." I would have really liked to see him fight that second time, but it's never gonna happen again.
right. Well, yeah, I definitely see that. It's probably there's a big chance. It's a bigger chance now than ever that it won't happen again. But like I said, Tony first, and I feel like then, no doubt, I feel Habib's last fight is just GSP right there, like it or not.
Really?
I really
Yeah.
think so. I think we've talked about this on a pod before anyway, but
I definitely feel like
it's worth
Khabib's going to
talking
go out
about
on his
again.
own terms. He's not going to do anything he doesn't want to do, and I feel like he's going to be one of those guys that retires somewhat early.
Right.
At least earlier than people might have thought or wanted him to. But
But this is the thing when it just gets all crazy, because then there's now we're saying there's no chance maybe that Connor does get that rematch, but then you hear Habib's dad saying, "Oh, if Connor wants Habib again, Moscow's ready." It's just like all these people are saying it. His managers are saying it. It's just like you don't know what to believe. You don't know what to if this stuff is gonna happen again.
Can you honestly see Dana knowing everything he knows about both of those people? And I mean, for all intents and purposes, it seems like Connor's kind of on the verge of like a mental breakdown. I mean, I really just don't think he books that fight just for the what if this happens or what if that happens. And I mean, what if it's worse and somebody gets killed? There's no coming back from
definitely don't have.
that. I feel like it took a long time for people to kind of get that taste out of their mouth as far as that result too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been talked about to the end, and people blamed both people. And I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter who you think was the bigger kind of antagonizer or this and that, because they're both of their actions were inexcusable. Maybe Connor's are more inexcusable leading up to the fight, and Habib's were definitely more inexcusable after the fight. But I don't know, man. That's like just such the opposite of what
Well,
the sport
you made a
needs.
good
And
point right there, and this is kind of going lighter on that, but it's like a little bit of a similarity, but it's like with these fighters, like DC, saying, "Oh, I don't want he wouldn't want his last fight in the UFC to be against John Jones because that's just too much negativity." And
yeah,
Bisping said the same thing, before he was retiring. He's like, of course I would want to get that Vitor win back or whatever, blah blah blah. But I wouldn't want that to be my last fight in the UFC because I would
well,
just
I
be too
mean,
much
yeah,
negativity. He would trash talk the end of it and whatnot. So he was having fun with GSP at the end. It wasn't like
sure.
or however,
There was
yeah.
respect. There wasn't hate.
But anyway, so that, like, how to relate it with that. So I could see Habib being like, when I'm out of here, it's not like I want to end mine with, this, negativity and stuff with Connor, trashing my religion and family and whatnot.
It just got
So
super deep, man. It got
that was
super
so,
scary.
yeah,
Like just as
it
a
was
fan,
weird.
it's like, wow, this is just way too dark for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, I feel like I'm like in some conspiracy
yeah.
theory kind of dramatic, like
It didn't feel fun at
Jason
all.
Bourne kind of movie where I just no, it was just
Yeah,
not good,
no, absolutely
not
not.
good at all. I mean, you know what I feel like at the end of the day, fighting is cool because it brings everybody together, different religions, different races, different countries. It's that one thing that kind of unites everybody, and that whole thing was just something that just really polarized things as far as religion, and it made people kind of choose sides. I feel like, and that's not at all what I feel like the good parts about the sport are.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
But with that said, there's so many other fights that could potentially happen in this division. Between this division and the featherweight division, I know that we've had some guys kind of go back and forth and this and that, but I don't know. I mean, I'm just happy with the fights kind of booked at everything. I feel it's kind of good that you have fighters like Connor or fighters like, even Poirier to a extent. Like they can kind of jump back and forth between the two. But I don't know, man. Poirier's probably just, you had the Holloway fight. Now you had the Habib fight. He's definitely looking for the money fight. He's probably looking for one more fight, get the money fight, trying to get Connor because he knows that would draw numbers and then ride off into the sunset. And I don't know. Maybe maybe Connor doesn't want that fight. Maybe Dana doesn't want that fight. We don't really know for sure.
And like I was saying, I feel like, there's a great chance that Connor doesn't even, continue with the lightweight division. You could just be like, oh,
Sure.
I'm just going to go in the, compete in the featherweight division. Like
Do
I
you see
said,
him wanting? I feel like I don't know because he hated dropping that weight though.
I mean, was really expressing himself, through that interview and whatnot, and through Twitter saying, Frankie Edgar. He was even mentioning, of course, Holloway, but Aldo, and those guys, would love to get
Does
those
anybody want
brothers
to see
back.
McGregor versus Aldo now? Does anybody really want to see that fight?
I know Aldo would, but
But does he really
Connor,
though?
I mean, from what I'm getting from him, he's almost trying to sound like his old self, where he's, about accepting and fighting anyone and again. So,
But
like
he's
I said,
not.
I'll believe it when I see it, but I just don't want to go off and say, he's gonna be continuing the lightweight division. I feel like he might maybe jump around, but then again, then there's that big side where everyone's like, and they're serious. They're not even trying to joke. And it's like, I don't believe that guy's ever gonna fight again.
Yeah.
And do you think
Well,
that?
you
Do
know
you think
what?
that's a big chance too?
That
That we don't
McGregor
even
never
see.
fights again.
Yeah, we're talking about that he's coming back, but
Well, I have a couple things on this. So number one, the whole thing with McGregor, it's kind of like the John Jones stuff. I mean, McGregor at the end of the day, he's 31 years old. He just turned 31. He's still super young. Same thing with John Jones. John Jones missed years of his fight career for whatever reason, and he's still super young. So I feel like if McGregor wants to fight, he still has a career. We're not talking about someone like GSP who's 38 years old, 37, 38 years old, maybe even older than that a little bit. It's a little, your window's a little different. Like McGregor could not fight for 2 years, come back and still have his prime in the cage. But I kind of feel like it's one of those things where my thing that I think is going to happen, or maybe not will happen, but the thing that I could think is a possibility, McGregor might just hold out for the fight, hold out for a fight that he wants that he just never gets. So it's if he doesn't take the Poirier fight, he doesn't take the Gaethje fight because he's holding out for this, holding out for that fight. What if those fights never come? What if that Habib fight
yeah.
never comes again?
Well, I
What if
think
that Ferguson fight never
yeah,
comes? Next thing you know, it's 2 years go by, he hasn't fought.
yeah.
I feel like that's kind of a more realistic possibility than him just not wanting to fight.
Well, I think he was holding out a little bit just to see the results of Poirier, Habib and Poirier, and then Justin and Cowboy. But I feel like now they probably have something getting running together. Going off what you're saying right there is like I don't know. I feel like fighters that do take off a long layoff really, for a good amount of them actually don't really affect them. We've seen with Nate.
The ring rust stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going with Dominic Cruz. I'm what he says right here with the ring rust thing is I'm kind of like split between it. I can see the factor that for some people maybe it can affect them, and then for some others it's like I'm still training every day, and you saw with Nate Diaz, he made improvements in that gap of time. There's another fighter too. I'm GSP of course too. You can say for him. So it's just like I feel like there's a argument that taking those long periods of time off, what TJ is going to have to go through now. It's like what I want to say about what Dom Cruz was saying, because he said in an interview about like that's not a bad thing. Like taking that amount of time off, 2-3 years or so, like that's can be almost a blessing for fighters, because then they just improve.
Gives you time to heal, right?
Yeah, sure.
I think that some people might make they might incorrect think that a fighter takes 2 years off, they don't have anything to do with fighting for 2 years. That's not the case. People still train, they still work, they still do things, but it's just you're letting your body heal. Because a lot of fighters, they walk into a fight, they're not 100%. They have injuries from camp that they haven't gotten over. There's a tolerance between what the UFC kind of allows you to fight with and having to pull out. So I mean, there's a lot of fighters that can go. Someone only knows you're hurt if you say you're hurt. There's definitely fighters out there that don't let anyone know that they're hurt, that are nursing an injury, a ligament injury, or sprain, or something like that. And they go in there and they're not 100%. So that time off it lets them kind of heal a little bit. But I don't know. I mean, I think Conor looked sharp. I don't think he didn't look sharp in the fight with Khabib. I think he just fought someone else's fight for the first time. He didn't fight his fight. And I mean, I feel like I think it was just a technique thing, a kind of a strategy thing more so than an endurance thing, or because he's always had problems with endurance and this and that. So
yeah, man. So I feel like we pretty much wrapped up really well on the lightweight division, what its current standings are.
It's a super interesting division. It's really interesting. I mean, there's a lot of fights, and like I said before, at the end of the day, I'm happy with whatever fight gets made. I really don't see anything happening that I'm gonna be like, oh, they made this fight. I really think I'll be happy with anything that they do.
Do you want to actually touch on something real quick? What would be next for Cowboy? Do you feel like he still continues in the lightweight division, or he just kind of, if he's close to ending his career, just kind of hop around, go up to welterweight a little bit, have fun there, or whatever. I feel like he can just do whatever fight. We're all gonna watch. So, what's your stance on that, actually?
Well, I feel like with Cowboy, I could see a couple things happening.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that. I mean, he said he still wants to fight for the title. So,
that's
especially
true.
with Al kind of losing, Barbosa losing. I mean, there's only so many guys that are kind of maybe that next in line, like Gaethje, Ferguson. I mean, who else is there? I mean, who else gets the title shot? But I really could see something. I don't know. I mean, I could almost kind of see it coming out of left field. Like maybe they will do the Cowboy Conor fight. Maybe a fight will happen that we're not even thinking about, we're not even discussing, but it kind of comes out and surprises us. But I see Cowboy staying in that division. And there's really no need to move around, especially with the people taking. He's not the only guy taking losses in that division.
Right. Well, it means Donald stands at ranked number 5 in the division.
Sure.
So I mean, a fight with ranked number 3 Conor could make sense, but also. Maybe it's a Barboza fight, something like that. I mean,
two guys coming off losses, that wouldn't be a terrible fight.
And they're both like continuously fighting for the title, but pretty much falling short a lot.
Sure.
So
I mean, that's unfortunately, I feel like with Cowboy, he's fought great until title fights.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, and they're both having their ups and downs. So that fight could make sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense.
And if
I kind of feel like, I don't know, man, I wouldn't be surprised to see like a Hooker Cowboy fight. I really wouldn't be.
That too, and if you want to, I mean, of course I want to talk about this tomorrow, but I mean, I feel like will make sense to talk about it now. But I mean, with Al, Al could be fighting, Felder, something like that could make sense. I mean, I don't know if Felder would want to take him coming off a loss. So, what about
we
a Felder?
Can't forget about Pettis too.
Yeah, or a Felder and Cowboy fight. That could make sense.
I could see Felder and Cowboy. I could see that.
Damn, like look at these match. They're all pretty good. They're all any matchup if you just re-roll some dice with their names on it, and match them up like that, or just do the little flipping card match game.
That might be what it comes down to, trying to make a fight in this division.
Exactly. Just put their names in a bowl and pick 2 at a time.
Yeah, literally the lightweight division right now, the top five. You could take the top seven guys, write their names on a piece of paper, put them in a hat, pull out two at a time, and you have
Yeah.
great fights.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at 1 through 15 right now, and I feel like, I mean, not maybe not don't match any up of the most of the top five with the top 10 or 15, but I mean, pretty much anywhere from 5 and 15. I feel like any of those can be great matchups.
I kind of feel like I feel like they might do like a Cowboy Hooker fight,
Okay.
and that's their way of getting Hooker into the top five. That's way of him getting into
Right.
at least the top 10, because I feel like he's going to be in the title picture a lot sooner than later.
Right. If yeah, I feel like if Hooker wants that Dustin fight, then he has to fight, another big fight.
I feel like that's a huge jump. As much as, I mean, it's a good call out, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I don't think, I realistically, I don't think that they're going to. I think you did, that is kind of a step back for Dustin, like you said. But I
Yeah.
could definitely see Cowboy coming in and be like, I'll fight him. You
Well,
want a top five guy?
Oh
I'll
gosh,
take,
he will
I'll
fight
take a shot.
anyone. Well,
I like
Hooker,
that fight. I do like that fight. I feel like Hooker. I don't know. Who knows, man? It's so hard to predict, because I feel like, first off, if there's one fighter I'd never want to count out, it's Cowboy, because he'll surprise the shit out of you. He really will. But man, I've said it 100 times. There's not a bad fight. There's not a bad fight
Absolutely
they can make here.
not.
There's really not. I mean, well, I think the only bad fight they can make isn't even a fight that they're making. It's just a fight that they won't make.
Yeah.
So I think if it's not Habib Ferguson next, then that's a mistake. But I honestly wouldn't mind seeing whoever they fight next if it's not each other.
Sure. I mean, that's a hard one for me. The number one lightweight fight I want to see is Habib versus Tony. Like,
It has to be that
I
fight.
mean,
How
like,
can,
I feel
how
like
can you not have that fight?
I don't think there's not one fight I would rather not see.
It's got everything, and
And
especially
then-
if Ferguson
yeah.
wins that comeback story. Oh my God!
Oh, jeez, that's such an
Coming back
interesting.
from all
I
the
can't.
issues
I can't
and
wait to
claiming
analyze
the
that
belt.
one. I can't wait
It's
to
gonna
go
be-
in depth with that one, because that's such an interesting one. But what I want to say back about Hooker is, he's really saying he wants to prove himself, and he's saying, I have the tank to go 5 rounds. Like, he wants to prove
He really
himself in a
does.
5 rounder. So I feel like the next fight for him, and what was good about him shooting a shot, with Dustin Poirier, he doesn't get it, but it tells him how high he's trying to go. So they're
Sure.
going to be like, all right, we'll gift you with a guy like Cowboy. We'll gift you with someone like that.
Well, I think that's a
they'll
smart call out.
And what they should do is they need to main a fight night, so he
Yeah.
can be at top.
Right.
If you just I mean, honestly, Al and Hooker would have been a fight night. That's a fight night type of fight.
Sure.
So Hooker definitely deserves that, main, headlining spot. Just against who? That's a question. And honestly, him shooting a shot at for Dustin also isn't a bad thing, because that fight very well could happen too. We don't know how these matchups happens. Like, well, this guy's injured, this thing, and then Dustin's gonna be like, all right, I'll take him. I'll prove. He says he wants to fight me. All right, like, because Dustin's gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna put it on him, and then and Dan's saying the same thing. What was he saying in the Octagon interview? Like, I'm gonna take you out. Like, he's
Yeah.
this is the most aggressive we've really seen him.
It was such a smart call out, though, because if he called out Habib, it's like, okay, nobody really.
That kind of gets laughed
Nobody
at,
jumps
but
that,
with
right?
Dustin,
But
it
Poirier,
makes
it's like,
yeah.
okay. I think it's exactly what
It
he was
made
looking
me
for.
interested, but also made me like, well, I don't know if they're gonna really gift you that one. But it tells you how high, like I said, he's shooting with that. So I like his.
I think he's going to be up. He's going to be close. Man, he's going to be hard to beat. He's got so much size for the division. It's kind of like McGregor and the featherweight division.
Oh God,
he's so big for that division.
Yeah, dude. Jeez.
So I mean, it's Jesus Christ. He made Al just look. That was a really bad fight for Al, man. He just couldn't do anything. It's look at that's the thing too. It's obviously, I feel like in the heavyweight division, the height thing makes less of a difference than it does when you're in the other divisions. Because when you're in a lower weight class, I feel like height really gives people issues. Like, without getting in too much into it, but look at Whitaker Adesanya. Like, the reach was a huge issue last night. Like, it makes people do things they don't normally do. And that's why I really feel like Hooker, if he can kind of avoid getting finished, if he takes a loss, a decision or something, I don't think it's not going to impact him as getting finished. But I really feel like he's going to do some damage in the division, because he's got so much
Absolutely.
height. He really does.
Absolutely.
He's got such a reach advantage, and I mean, Al is a good fighter, man. He's a fucking really good fighter, and he got made to look like he was just not on his game at all last
I'll
night.
say this, and not to always have to bring Connor into this, and if it gets tiring for people listening, but they were saying in the interviews beforehand to like mainly Al, because Al, there was also that time where Al was trying to get in, with a fight
Yeah,
with
there's no way
Connor.
that fight happens now.
But I mean, what I'm saying is they were kind of, I guess, hinting at the idea of the winner of that fight, how impressive it could have been, could have been a matchup for Connor. And of course, I feel like if that were to happen, it would have to be like that fight would have to end in like a knockout or a finish or something like that. But I mean,
I
there's a
feel like if Al fought
possibility.
Connor, it would have ended similar to how last night went, maybe with a finish though.
Right. So I mean, I'm not even saying Al. I'm saying Hooker actually right now because I feel like him being the
Ooh,
winner
Hooker,
that
man,
could.
I'd love to see. Hooker versus McGregor would be great when you're playing UFC 3 on your Xbox. That'd be a great fight to do, but I just don't see
Right.
the fight happening.
I mean, of course, that's another big one. Where it's almost relating to Dustin, where it's like you that could happen eventually, but maybe you're
Listen,
shooting.
man, at the end of the day, Dana
Mm-hmm.
loves money.
Mm-hmm.
Dana White loves money. And whatever fight is going to bring in the most money, that's the
True.
fight that it's going to be. So, I mean,
It needs to be a bigger name. If I mean, I was just kind of like shooting names like that, but Hooker, and
I definitely see Hooker Cowboy. I really feel like that's the
yeah,
fight that they're going to make next. And I feel like it's going to be Gaethje McGregor, and hopefully it's going to be Ferguson Habib. And I feel like Poirier is kind of the only guy that gets left out. But, he's got the losses
wait,
that
who
he's
did you
coming
say?
off of.
Did you say who Gaethje was going to be fighting?
I think it's going to be Gaethje McGregor, and I think
Oh,
it's going to
okay.
be
Okay.
Habib Ferguson.
Gotcha.
And then maybe we'll get Ferguson versus GSP. Maybe we'll get Habib GSP. Maybe we'll get Habib McGregor at that point when there's not a belt on the line. Who knows? But I mean, I don't know.
Crazy. Wow.
There's like the next 6 fights in that division. I'm gonna be happy with every one of them.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Well, damn, we really hit it on that one. We really covered, I think, a lot of ground right there in the lightweight division.